Welcome everybody to the Tom Colohue YouTube and Twitch channels, where today we have a lot to talk about, but the biggest piece of news at the time of recording is that Triple H has officially announced his retirement as a wrestler. He does not plan to wrestle again, which is a pretty strong sign and a strong statement from Triple H. After all, this is the guy who openly said to me in an interview, I never wanted to work in the back office, I'm only interested in wrestling. The fact is, at this point, after wrestling maybe one match a year, it was coming due time, but the thing that has stopped him, the thing that has made him call it time, as it were, is entirely down to the heart condition that he has and the issues that he's had since when it comes to water on his lungs and the like. Triple H, for anyone who doesn't know, is my favourite wrestler. There is no actual question or debate when it comes to it. Triple H was my guy, and I've been asked several times in this chat and in several others who my favourite wrestler was, who my favourite moments were. It's all down to Triple H. I learned a lot from watching the guy. I root for the heels, I always have, and Triple H has always sort of been king of the heels, at least for me. So it's a bit of a dark day for me, but as much as anything, it's the right time for him to call it. I would not want him stepping into the ring again if it meant any risk on his person. That is not something that we as fans should be hoping for, and certainly not something that any of his actual supporters would be looking for. True fans of Triple H will not be saying he needs to come out of retirement anytime soon, though a few will certainly be eager for him to have one or two more matches. At the moment, he will not be able to wrestle, and I don't believe he will be able to work out as much as he used to, which will have a detrimental effect on him, I'm sure. So we need to look out for the guy. We need to make sure the guy knows he's in our thoughts. After all, when it comes to wrestling, these are still people, and they need to know that we respect them and that we support them as much as anything. So before I go too deeply into the future of the roles that Triple H did have, I want to start off by introducing the show. Hi, my name is Tom Colohue, and this is Spoiler Warning. Spoiler Warning is my new show, twice weekly, sometimes 3 times weekly. I don't know if you can call the Sunday show Spoiler Warning, but let's just say it is. And if you are watching for the first time, if you're watching on Twitch, please remember to hit follow. If you're watching on YouTube, please remember to hit subscribe. And if you have subscribed already, why don't you hit that like button? That little thumbs up can make a massive difference. And if you haven't already, you can also become a channel member or send a super chat if you would like to as well, or subscribe on Twitch. No pressure. That's just entirely up to you guys. So let's start by going over some of the questions we've had, because before we started on YouTube, there were some Triple H questions. Steve says, hey Tom, hope you're well, buddy. What are some of your favourite Triple H matches in his career? Now, I missed a large part of sort of the middle of the Triple H career, but I'm a big fan of, as you know, Steve, the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view match where he finished against The Undertaker. Honestly, I feel he had great chemistry with The Undertaker, and his matches at Wrestlemania were good if mostly focused on story. I feel the WrestleMania 17 match was particularly noteworthy, not just for the massive ref bump, but Triple H had an era where he was absolutely unstoppable. His work with Steve Austin, his work with The Rock, for me, SummerSlam 98, the ladder match between Triple H and The Rock, that is what made me a wrestling fan. So honestly, as much as anything else, Triple H is my guy. He worked brilliantly with so many people. He had a street fight in the Royal Rumble, well, at the Royal Rumble, not in the Royal Rumble, that would have been weird, and a couple of very good Royal Rumble entries as well in the same arena. So his work will be missed, but his impact on wrestling is everywhere. And you can see by the fact that even wrestlers who hate the WWE are coming out to show respect to Triple H. That says everything about the man for me. Jermaine, welcome to the show, says, hi Tom, I hope you're having a great day. Just want to say, man, I miss Triple H. I'm sure we'll see him again, just not in a wrestling ring. After all, there are plans for him to return to NXT in charge at some point soon. Austin Palmeter says, Hall of Fame next year? Very possibly, yes. I do think Triple H is a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. He is very high up there, I believe 3rd place for most World Championship reigns. Sorry, 4th place for most World Championship reigns. And that's very telling about the belief that the company had in him, but also the belief that the fans had in him. This was a top-of-the-line heel. Hated. Absolutely hated. And when he returned from injury in 2002, he was treated like a returning hero. Much like Bayley will be very soon, I am sure. Matthew Ann says, hello Tom, is that about Triple H? Me too, mate, me too. Wrestler fan says, hey Tom, do you think there will be anyone performing America the Beautiful on each night of WrestleMania 38? Yes, the first night. Sean Cena says, hey Tom, hello. Wiggly says, hey yo, 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 yo. So many yo-yos, so many yo-yos. And just before we jump into more of the chat, this is an Ask Me Anything stream after all, let me talk a little bit about what's next for Triple H. He was never the biggest fan of the backstage section, as in he didn't really want to be that involved in it. But his ability to spot and develop talent is unrivaled, maybe only rivaled by William Regal, the two of them working in tandem for a long time to develop NXT, and a hell of a lot of the people that we've come to know and love from that time. Triple H is expected to continue working in that developmental section, working for NXT 2.0 when he is ready to return. The WWE are very much enjoying what Shawn Michaels is doing, but they do want Triple H back in that seat. As regards the global expansion and NXT UK, I expect to see less of Triple H's involvement there. The stress of the 24/7 workday that the man was working under is unlikely to be continuing because of the amount of strain that puts on an organ that he needs to be protecting. I don't expect to see Triple H travelling all that much anymore, and certainly when it comes to the whole media section, Shawn Michaels may be taking over when it comes to the big media and post-match scrums and post-show scrums from NXT UK and the like, especially now William Regal gone as well. Sean says, according to Fightful, WWE is trying to end the Cody Rhodes chants and fans supposedly starting them are being kicked out of arenas. I haven't heard anything about that, and I haven't heard many Cody Rhodes chants. Yes, when Seth Rollins is there is certainly a buzz and an excitement for the impending Cody Rhodes, but the WWE are perfectly capable of silencing those, and this is one of the times when I think crowd sweetening is a positive. The fact that they can mask and hide those chants, essentially making it so that casuals and people who don't have all of that backstage information don't know it's coming, even though it is coming. When it comes to fans being kicked out, it depends where they're getting their information. If they're getting their information from the fans, there are quite a number of fans who have recently been kicked out of WWE shows if you listen to those fans. If you listen to WWE and other people who were there, not so many. Steve says, if Triple H could have had one more match, who would you have chosen to be his opponent and why? Okay. Bear with me here. Bear with me. Hello, Ethan. Welcome to the show, mate. Thank you kindly for that super chat. I very much appreciate it. Thank you very much. And welcome to the show, mate. So, one more match that Triple H could have had. It would probably be someone from NXT UK. That makes it very slim pickings because a lot of them are, shall we say, troublesome. I would have probably gone for Volta, or in this case, Gunter. Failing that, Kaylee Ray could have a great match with Triple H, all I'm saying. Woody Swain, welcome to the show, says, hey Tom, hope you're well, got an idea for you. How about you name the show The Collar News? I am confident that the name Spoiler Warning is still the best thing I could have ever come up with when it comes to this particular show. The name Spoiler Warning works brilliantly for me. I know a lot of people are fans of that particular branding, and it's something I'll be taking very far with me, I assure you. Spoiler warning for me. I'm still waiting for the day someone calls me out and is attacking me for, hey, this guy says he has all the answers. He goes in and he's always saying spoiler warning. It's the name of the show. It's the name of my show, and I find that very funny. Wiggly says, a sad day for wrestling, but I expected this news was coming. Ultimately, his health and family must always come first. I completely agree. It's not a surprise that we are where we are, but But we can't take that moment away from him. Brandon, thank you kindly for renewing your subscription on Twitch. Welcome to the show, mate. And that is an 8th month total, Brandon. Thank you kindly. Someone who's been here for a very long time. I always appreciate you being here, sir. Wiggly also says, probably one of the greatest heels of all time. You are not wrong at all. Triple H was a framework. Triple H molded the concept of a modern heel. And so many wrestlers, you look at The Miz, for example, took a lot from Triple H. You look at people such as Sasha Banks, took a lot from Triple H. Charlotte Flair took a lot from Triple H. Randy Orton, Batista, the more obvious names, took a lot from Triple H. Even now, you look at your Bobby Lashley's, he's been taking a lot from Triple H. A lot of the classics that you saw from him became the way it was done. And he added a lot to not just heels in general, but to wrestling. Steve says, I was always disappointed we never got to see Stone Cold versus The Rock versus Triple H after Austin was written out of the Survivor Series Triple Threat match in 1999. To be fair, those were the three. Those three took the Attitude Era onto their backs, and carried it to the top. Not enough is said about Triple H's contribution as the bad guy that Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock got to beat the hell out of. Not enough is said about that, and I think it's time someone says it. Maybe I'll tweet that after, just to ruffle some feathers and get told off by all the Austin and Rock fans. Justin Stevens, welcome, says, in my opinion, the women's division is about to become way overcrowded when returns and call-ups happen. Unfortunately, I see women releases. Hope I'm wrong, but can't have 30 women on the roster with 4 segments a week. That is true, however, you do need 30 women on the roster for the Royal Rumble. What I will say is I don't expect 30 women to be featured on the roster every time, but I expect to see a Raw Women's Championship feud, a SmackDown Women's Championship feud, there's 4 women, a Tag Team Championship feud, there's 8 women, so there's 12 women, and then at least one side feud on Raw and one on SmackDown. So there's another 4 women. So there's 16 women being featured fairly regularly. That's what I expect. It won't always be that the secondary feud gets featured, which will bring it down to 12, but 12 still isn't bad, especially when you have rotating tag teams and rotating challengers. For me, the fact that SmackDown, the 2-hour show, has had the championship feud and what's been going on with Sonya Deville and Naomi, that's pretty good. When you look at who they've used recently, you've got Sasha Banks, Naomi being used pretty well. Natalya and Shayna Baszler are being used, they're not being used all that much. In addition to that, you have Sonya Deville, Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, all being featured. There's 7. That's just on one show. Meanwhile, on Raw, you've got Bianca Belair and Becky Lynch. There's 9. You've got Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. There's 11. You have Zelina Vega and Carmella. There's 13 being featured right now. Literally right now. Before you even consider backstage promos and segments and people coming down with another wrestler and so on and so forth. So I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem personally. Ed says, just to clarify, NXT 2.0 manages to feature 8 to 12 women weekly on 2 hours. SmackDown isn't far off that. It's doable, you just need to actually write the segments. And Jermaine says, hey Tom, are we only getting 3 women's wrestling matches for WrestleMania 38? Because WrestleMania 36 had 5, WrestleMania 37 had 4. What is going on? I do believe there is only going to be 3 women's matches at WrestleMania this year. There doesn't seem to be any other storyline in play outside of Sonya Deville wrestling someone. I don't even know who that someone could be. But yes, at the moment, it really looks like it's just going to be the 3, which is not good in any way, shape or form. Wiggly says, wrestling is a tough gig, has huge impact on physical and mental well-being. Completely agree. You have to look after yourself, and as wrestlers, they tend to put their bodies on the line for our entertainment. We have to give them credit. We also have to let them know that they don't need to do that. Sometimes it's okay to chill out. And Wiggly believes the best Triple H match, in my honest opinion, is Hell in a Cell with Taker at WrestleMania 28. A little overbooked for me. That's the only thing holding it back, in my opinion. Austin says, can definitely see Triple H in the Hall of Fame, WrestleMania 20 being the best entrance. WrestleMania 30 is also pretty good, but I may have a reason for believing so. Justin says, Triple H versus Stone Cold at No Way Out 2001 was fantastic. That, of course, is the 3 stages of hell, which is just damn good. It's just damn good what they were able to deliver there. Triple H technically picking up the win on, what can I say, a massive technicality. Moxie says, acknowledge me. There you are. Hi. Consider yourself acknowledged. Wolfgamer says, hello all. Hello, Wolfgamer. How are you? Spiderboss says, hi, Tom. A Stone Cold Steve Austin and KO main eventing night 1 of WrestleMania. That is the rumour. That is the rumour. It's not going to be a match by any stretch of the imagination, but the rumour is Stone Cold's return will be main eventing night 1 of WrestleMania. They're going hard on the nostalgia acts this year when you consider Steve Austin being involved, when you consider Edge being involved, let's be honest there. I wouldn't call Cody nostalgia. I mean, that guy's got a lot more to give yet, though. Sonic says hello. Hello, Sonic. How are you? If you're currently watching on YouTube, please do remember to hit that like button. That little thumbs up can make a massive difference, and it always gives me a nice little boost of viewership. We are currently continuing in our search for additional subscribers. What I wanted as much as anything was a nice buffer zone above the 1,000 after being monetized, so that there was no risk of being demonetized, essentially losing my partnership by dropping down again. When I came on earlier today, we were at 1,053, and indeed we still are. 1,053 subscribers at the moment. So every like, every chat, literally just chatting in the YouTube feed increases my discoverability, as it were. So every different type of engagement that there is a massive boost to the growth of this channel. So please do consider spreading the word and spreading the love, because we are unfortunately 2 down from where we were on Monday, which was a bit of a disappointment to wake up to on Wednesday, I'll tell you that. Wiggly says, whilst not a stellar classic, Triple H versus Sting at WrestleMania 31 is what I meant, thank you, for what it signified, i.e. the final culmination of the whole WWE versus WCW thing, Sting making his WrestleMania debut, DX versus NWO, etc. Yeah, it was a massive mess, but it did signify a true end of an era and a changing of the guard. Sergio, welcome, says Triple H versus Undertaker at WrestleMania 28 is one of the greatest matches ever, in my opinion. Certainly reached a lot of people and connected with them as well. Spiderboss says the 4 Horsewomen are Triple H's creation. Disagree entirely. The 4 Horsewomen are the 4 Horsewomen's creation. I would not take that away from them in any way and for any reason, though Triple H certainly had a hand in making women's wrestling more accessible over on the NXT side. Ronaldinho says, hey Tom. Hello Ronaldinho, how are you? Simon says, Evolution and DX, 2 of the most powerful, greatest stables in pro wrestling history. Congrats to Triple H, a 14-time World WWE World Heavyweight Champion on a really amazing in-ring career. Indeed. And one thing you haven't mentioned much, Simon, Evolution and DX, definitely 2 of the greatest stables, but what about the Authority? More importantly, what about the corporate ministry, which Triple H was a part of? He was a part of the corporation, he was a part of the corporate ministry working under The Undertaker. We always forget that part. China was a part of the corporate ministry. Triple H essentially turned face because The Undertaker was threatening China, so he hit The Undertaker with a low blow, which apparently works on a dead man. Guy could get anything over. Andrew Quinn, welcome, says, hello Tom. Gutted about Triple H. The best matches for me, his 2 against Taker, 27-28. Also Triple H versus Shawn Michaels and DX versus Evolution. I do not recall DX versus Evolution personally. Though what I will say is Evolution versus The Shield is worth mentioning. Wiggly says, funny how Italy missed out on the World Cup again, right? No, I'm not going to laugh at their misfortune. They don't have the greatest team at the moment. I don't find that funny, it's just a shame. J Power says, part of me wished it was him and Austin main eventing WrestleMania 17 instead of finishing it a month earlier. The decision was very much made... Sorry, I've just got a troll who has decided to come in and say RIP to someone who is not dead. So, go to hell on that one. Yeah, the decision was made very late on in the build to WrestleMania 17 to take the championship off Kurt Angle first and foremost. Kurt Angle was the champion at the time, but that was taken off him by The Rock in the February at the same pay-per-view as Steve Austin lost to Triple H, but Steve Austin was already booked for that WrestleMania main event. The decision was of course made about a month beforehand at that same time that Steve Austin would be turning heel. And it did not really work out, I'll tell you that. Andrew says DX versus Rated RKO. Just ignore that DX versus Evolution. Thank you, man. I appreciate you clarifying on that one. Ethan says, hey, Tom. Hello, Ethan. How you doing? Hector says, happy Friday, Tom. Based on your tweet about Cody, safe to assume you saw WrestleVotes' tweet about WWE wanting Cody to come in and be exactly what he was in AEW, down to entrance gear, the way his character is. Have you heard anything about this, or do you feel like this is going to happen, or is it a good idea? So I have heard a lot about this. I've in fact mentioned it on this channel before. The fact that I was expecting Cody Rhodes to go after the United States Championship because the American Nightmare is going to be the real American Nightmare. The hope is that he will be utilised in exactly the same way. He will be leaning on the American Dream name for the American Nightmare. They want the coat. They want the tattoo. They want him to get USA chance, which he doesn't get in AEW, but, you know. They want the guy to walk down who says he solves racism. That's the guy they want. Because they want you to, if you've watched AEW, come on over, because the guy's on the other side now. They want his fans to follow. And they believe that because he's an AEW founder, most of the AEW fan base is likely to come over at least for a little while, see what he's up to, and give them a chance. I don't necessarily think they'll give more than a chance if they're like pro AEW and anti WWE, but there'll certainly be a few who come over purely for Cody. Austin says, could we see Cody Monday because Seth said he's holding Raw down? No. I know that like you guys have asked this question a lot. When it comes to Cody, the only place he's booked is the Rumble. That is not the Rumble, WrestleMania. That is the earliest he is booked right now. Anytime you ask me the question, are we going to see him on Raw? The answer is WrestleMania, we will see him. I don't know about Raw. He's not booked for Raw. He's booked for WrestleMania. Wolfgamer says Triple H versus Jay White. You excite me in so many ways. So many ways. But when it comes to Jay White, there are many other people I'd like to see him wrestle. I don't think he and Triple H would really gel at this point in time. Sean says, I know a lot of fans wanted Kevin Owens versus Triple H. I think that's a very good shout. But I think Triple H is someone who wants to put over someone new and up and coming. I don't think he'd necessarily want to work with Kevin Owens right now because Kevin Owens is just in a much stronger position than, for example, Gunther. Austin says Triple H versus Shawn at Bad Blood was my all-time favourite. Also a fantastic match. The two of them just going to war with each other. There is a lot of very, very good stuff in Triple H's career. And at some point, maybe we'll do a watch-along of the matches that are on YouTube from him. Bailey says Triple H's retirement shows an example of the importance of long-term health among today's talent. 25 years ago, some wrestlers would have ignored the signs or just tried to self-medicate and would have died as a result, which is fair, Bailey, and something worth pointing out. This is a sign of good doctors, good modern medicine, and someone who's wise enough to say, you know what, I think I'll stop now. Triple H always knew how to look after himself. It's a very positive thing. Simon says, really looking forward to Sasha's Fatal 4-Way tonight. Should be awesome. Straight fire. Becky Lynch isn't in it, mate. Really looking forward to her interacting with Rhea and Shayna in the match. This is, of course, as regards the Fatal 4-Way that is booked for SmackDown tonight. That being Sasha Banks, Zelina Vega, Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler. And can I just say, I think I expressed myself perfectly there. That's exactly how I feel. I'm just very excited for it. Should be an incredible match. Wolfgamer says, I think Triple H versus Jay White would have been an interesting one to see. A guy can dream. Absolutely, mate. You go right ahead. Jay White is likely to replace Triple H now as my favourite wrestler in the world. But there's also AJ Styles, who I believe is the best wrestler in the world. Jermaine says, hey Tom, people seem to believe on Twitter that Nick Khan wants all the titles unified, being only one World Championship, one IC, one US, one women's tag, one men's tag. Yet nobody has actually heard the man say this at any point. Nobody knows anything about this. The titles aren't even planned to be unified into one. It's just going to be two championships as far as the rumour mill goes. So I think the people who believe that have decided it's real rather than actually finding out it's real. Sean says Hell in a Cell was announced for June. We get an official Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I wonder if we'll get TLC this year. Ethan says, if Cody versus Seth gets confirmed, what night do you think it will be on? It will be night 2. Also, Triple H was a legend. Triple H is a legend, a living legend, and long may that continue. Even after he has finished wrestling, he will be developing future talent for the WWE pipeline, and by extension, the AEW, Impact, and New Japan pipelines. Matthew Ham says, any updates on the IC and US title at WrestleMania? No update whatsoever. The plan is still for a US Championship match between Finn Balor and Damian Priest, and the plan is still at the moment not to have an IC Championship match. Brandon says, the game might be over, but the King of Kings will still reign. Indeed, he will. We're expecting to see quite a lot of him in the backstage capacity coming forward, a lot of him when it comes to backstage segments and vignettes, a lot of him as regards going forwards. The documentary series that the WWE are putting together for Peacock and for YouTube for the global audiences. So Triple H will still be there, we just won't see him wrestle. Simon, I have no idea what you're talking about. 2K Sports have held the rights to WWE video games for a long time. I don't know what you're talking about. Was it ever in question? News to me. Sean says, Seth, Becky, Ronda, Roman, Bianca, Edge, Drew, and Lashley are on the Hell in a Cell poster. Yeah, they are the big names in wrestling. In the WWE at least. They're the big names. Just all the big names. Telling that Big E isn't anywhere on posters anymore, and that's a real shame. If you're currently watching on YouTube, please do remember that you can hit that thumbs up button to leave a like on the video, and you can subscribe if you haven't already. You also have the options of a super chat or a channel membership. The channel memberships can be as low as $1 per month or as high as $25 per month. There are free options in place. I'm still putting together the content and getting into the habit of creating at least one video every 2 weeks. As we gain a few more channel members and subscribers in that regard, there will be more content coming, and you can have access to that for as little as $1 per month. Brandon says, if Brock doesn't beat Roman after all this, then I only see Drew being the one left to take down Roman once and for all. And that, I believe, is very much the plan. Drew will be taking that Universal Championship from Roman Reigns at the UK pay-per-view in September, if not before. I think that may be the rematch, by the way, in September, because I feel we'll get there beforehand. When it comes to the WWE Championship, either Roman will give it up and it'll be won at a tournament, which I'm very excited about, or Seth Rollins will be challenging Roman right after WrestleMania. Moxie suggests Sonya versus Xia Li or Aaliyah. Could certainly work. Sonya Deville could do with a win. Austin says, I know I'm biased because I'm a Shayna fan. I saw a video on YouTube, Shayna helping Ronda get ready for Mania. Those two will be a crazy tag team and a one-on-one take my money. Both of those things are planned. There is definitely a plan for a tag team between Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, potential double championship reign for Ronda Rousey going forwards, and a one-on-one feud eventually. Baszler unlikely to win, but still likely to be involved. Brandon says, no Goldberg at Mania. Is he done for good? For good? No. For now, yes. There is every chance that he will sign a new deal with someone. Who that someone is, I'm not sure. John, welcome. Says, do WWE not trust their full-time wrestlers for matches at WrestleMania because it's full of celebrities and part-timers? Well, if that were true, then we wouldn't see The Miz in the ring with Logan Paul. We wouldn't see Johnny Knoxville in the ring with Sami Zayn. We certainly wouldn't be main eventing with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. WrestleMania is not a show for hardcore fans. It is a show 100% for non-wrestling fans. WrestleMania is not aimed at keeping the viewership it already has. It's aimed at getting new viewership, and it achieves that using celebrities, using one-off quote-unquote dream matches and the like. Moxie says, Tom, do you think Roman versus Brock needs a no DQ match? No, because if it's no DQ, then Jimmy and Jey Uso will beat the shit out of Brock for the entire match. They need to stop letting Roman be in a no DQ environment. It doesn't help them. Sonic says, Triple H really made an impact on wrestling. He did. A lot of people took a lot away from Triple H. And honestly, you have to consider, I've never heard anyone say a bad thing. Never heard anyone say a bad thing about Triple H. Apart from fucking Ryback. Ed says, WrestleMania was built on celebs and legends. Look at Mania 1. Absolutely. WrestleMania's always been the same. It's not about the people already watching. It's about the people who could start watching. Hello, Bill. So how you doing, mate? Great to see you. Moxie says, Tom, if you were Vince, who would you have win, Roman or Brock, and how? I'd have Roman win, clean, dispatch Brock, kick him off the show for 4 or 5 months, and go on to lose the championship to someone else. Not even a question. Justin says, I agree, but I also believe WrestleMania season always has 8 women in a 4-way tag match. Usually it's only about 8 to 10 used at most during May to December. True? Fair point. Wiggly says, as regards Italy, they don't have the greatest team but still beat us in the final. Yeah, neither do we. Moxie says, I just love spoiler warning. Spoiler warning's it, man. Spoiler warning's the branding I love. Ethan says Triple H versus Undertaker with Shawn Michaels as a guest referee was a great match. That is the WrestleMania 28 match that we are discussing. Demetal says, man, SmackDown seems quite fun. I hope they give the women a lot of time. The women are getting a decent amount of time at the moment. It's decent. Salva says, hi, my friend. Hello, Salva. Welcome to the show, mate. Sean says, MJF said he watches all wrestling and calls New Japan SHIT. That is brave by MJF. I suspect he may be going in a G1 later on this year. Demetal says, Seth will probably try to insert himself in the Roman Brock match since they both will be on Raw. Possibly. I could see that happening, and then the Raw main event being one of them versus Seth. Maybe Brock versus Seth. I could see that. That would work. Andrew says, I can't believe Attitude Era wrestlers have retired. Well, of course they have. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Kane, Taker, Foley, Steve Austin, active or retired. Rock is the only one that hasn't retired. How times have changed. Have they? That was like 20 years ago. In fact, very nearly 25 years ago now. So, you know, of course they're going to retire. Spider-Boss says Triple H versus Edge versus Jeff Hardy is my favourite match of Triple H. Interesting, mate. Not one I've actually seen myself. I need to look into that. Sean says, what's going to happen with Seth Rollins on Raw? Because he said that Raw won't happen unless he gets his Mania moment. Raw will still happen. It's that simple. I suspect he might get thrown out of the building. But other than that, I don't know. KJ says, what's up, Tom? What's up, KJ? How you doing, mate? Jermaine says, people have to understand what WWE is doing with Seth and Cody Rhodes at this year's WrestleMania. It's almost the same thing they did with John Cena versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania in the past. Yeah. I don't get why people are so impatient. If Cody doesn't turn up until WrestleMania, people are going to watch WrestleMania, and that's what the WWE want. Moxie says Roman versus Bobby versus Drew versus Brock versus Cody versus Seth in an Elimination Chamber match. Vince, please. I mean, it's a powerful collection of people. Only one of them's on SmackDown as well, so swap Roman out with someone and you can make that happen. Swap him with Kevin Owens. Oh, Drew. Sean says Edge versus AJ Styles moved to night 1. Think it was replaced by Seth versus Cody. Yeah, I do. That's exactly what I think. Seth versus Cody is planned for night 2. Salmon says Impact last night from the ECW arena was an amazing, really great 4 out of 5 show. Mickey James versus Tasha Steelz, great KO title match. That's knockout. Chelsea heel turn on Mickey, well delivered. Yeah, Chelsea Green's not for me. I've never really gotten behind it. KJ says I got into WWE late. Triple H was part-time at the time, but I'll say one of his best matches was him versus Ambrose/Mox for the WWE title back in 16, I think, at Fastlane. It was 2016. Dean Ambrose had a really good start to that year, and of course a couple of months later he was the WWE champion and the guy at the top of SmackDown. Hector says, never forget the pop Triple H got after coming back from the torn quad and his feud with Jericho, culminating at Mania 18. Such a great story. The comeback was a great story. Coming back, winning the Rumble, taking the championships, both of them, from Chris Jericho, who sided with, of course, Stephanie. Chris Jericho was the one who had quote-unquote injured him, even though it was a freak accident. They were able to play that very cleverly, and it worked. But not the greatest story. The story was, of course, all about Stephanie, so question marks on that one. Dimitar says, Tom, what's your prediction on the WrestleMania tag match? I think it's between Sasha Naomi and Rhea Liv. I'm confident in Sasha Naomi. I am confident in Sasha Banks and Naomi winning the championships and then starting a feud with Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. I think we'll see that match more often. Go says, I know of the news about Triple H. It's been a rather depressing day, but one bright spot is the announcement of Shad Gaspard receiving the Warrior Award this year, so I would like to celebrate that as well. Absolutely, Ghost. That is a fair comment and something definitely worth mentioning. The Warrior Award will be going to Shad Gaspard this year. Shad Gaspard will be inducted into the Hall of Fame for the Warrior Award nomination. That continues to give us a very strong field for the Hall of Fame this year. It's taking a lot of time to get there, but this was the right choice. I don't think anyone can question the WWE doing this. It is a very good thing, and congratulations go out to the family, at least, of Shad Gaspard. I do believe they've contacted his son to be involved in some way. Via extension, but you know what I mean. Austin says, that new series on Peacock was good. I watched it last night. It was Hogan first. Yeah, that's why I'm not watching it. Also, I don't technically have access. Sonic says, the only people who aren't on the Hell in a Cell 2022 poster are Brock Lesnar and Charlotte Flair. Well, Charlotte Flair is not expected to be the champion at that time, and Brock Lesnar is not expected to be there at that time. Brandon says there's going to be a UK pay-per-view. There is. In September, there is a planned UK pay-per-view. Contenders at the moment are the Millennium Stadium and, of course, Wembley, to determine what arena they're going to be using. So you've got that to look forward to. Simon says, meaning 2K Sports extended their deal for the long term. EA Sports was heavily rumoured to be taking over the rights license to the series last week. Yeah, I saw those rumours. I have never been given any sort of suggestion that they were true. And in fact, it didn't sound like there was anything in particular suggesting that it was ever going to happen. As far as I can tell, the WWE were waiting on seeing whether this game was any good, and they lent heavily on people like Xavier Woods to tell them if it was any good, but the deal wasn't in particular jeopardy. Sean says, your thoughts on Kaylee Ray and Io using their Dusty Cup win on Mandy, making the title match a 4-way. Mandy versus Cora versus Io versus, Kaylee Ray. That's fun. I like that they did that. I like that they're going to be working against each other in this one. And I also think it makes the match a little bit more exciting. Also allows Mandy Rose to lose the title without actually losing the match, because anything can happen. We could have, for example, Cora losing to Io, and so on and so forth. But I feel as well, this is the last hurrah. For at least one of those people, it is the last hurrah on NXT. It's time for Io Shirai to come up to SmackDown. Sasha versus Io should be happening constantly. KJ says celebrities and part-timers are to help gain new viewers. Also, if WWE didn't trust its superstars, it wouldn't be Sammy versus Knox and Paul versus Mysterios. Indeed, they know who they're working with, they know how it's going, and also, you know, they look after their people as best they can. Imagine being the guy who ends Logan Paul's career. You wouldn't want to be. Spider-Boss says, was the Shield Vince or Triple H's creation? The Shield was a Vince McMahon call. The development of the wrestlers was Triple H. So, both. Tommy says, it sucks Triple H had to retire due to health issues and not by his own will. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's very, very worth mentioning that Triple H did not go out on his own terms here. But at the same time, unfortunately, right now, these are the terms he has to respect. Moxie says, can't wait to see Paul get F5'd. Paul Heyman? Oh yeah, that's happening. That's coming. John says, WWE put Roman, Ronda and Bianca in the centre of the Hell in a Cell poster, so I guess they will be the champs then. I would expect so, yes. Those are the three I expect to be champions at Hell in a Cell. I'm starting to think more and more that we might be seeing Drew McIntyre versus Roman at SummerSlam and then the rematch in September. Jermaine says, WWE needs to do the tournament for the new World Heavyweight Champion when Roman decides he doesn't want that belt. It would be the best thing overall going forward. I do agree. I've laid out a bracket for that, and I'm just very, very excited by the whole concept. Larry says, I heard that the trouble with Triple H, terrible speller, they helped him out with his autograph the best they could. Saying he couldn't spell Triple H. I mean, you make some bad jokes, but hey, not bad. BFG says, listening to what you were saying earlier about Triple H going to the Hall of Fame, don't take it he's already in there once already. If he goes in by himself, it will be the second time. And that second time will come. He will be a first ballot Hall of Famer on his own. JJ says, hey Tom, so the side of Twitter I'm on thinks that when Becky loses the title, WWE won't consider her as a big deal anymore. I don't believe it, but what do you think? Well, to be blunt, the WWE considers Becky Lynch to be in the same bracket as Charlotte Flair, meaning she's going to have a lot of championships in the future, and she's always going to be featured even when she doesn't have a championship. That's the difference between her and the sort of normal everyday wrestling collection that they have. She's still going to be used pretty intensely. Wiggly says, Edgeworth from the Attitude Era still wrestling, Jericho, Hardys. Yes, they are. They are the exceptions rather than the rule. And Spider-Boss says, I guess if Seth tries to get involved in Roman versus Brock, Brock will beat up Seth in the main event of Raw. Yeah. I think they'll probably make it exactly that. They'll make it, for example, Seth versus either Roman or Brock, and if Seth wins, he'll be added to the main event. And he won't win. You tune in for that, I'll tell you that. Ed says, thoughts on if JTG will induct Chad into the Hall of Fame as he receives the Warrior Award? I expect exactly that. I think JTG is the perfect candidate. It shows the connection in the WWE, that connection that Shad Gaspard had to the WWE. They can, when they're showing the package, the video package, it will be all about featuring JTG as well. So I think that would be the perfect person to do so, yes. Dustin Rhodes was from the Attitude Era and Christian was. Once again, exceptions rather than the rules. There were hundreds of wrestlers from the Attitude Era. Well done on the 5 you've mentioned. Sean says, will the match between Cody and Seth be confirmed on Raw this week? No. Andrew Quinn says, if there's one match in WrestleMania history that Vince could have changed, it's Taker versus Brock by having Taker stay undefeated until 33, where Taker wanted Roman to break the streak. No, because Taker wanted Brock to break the streak. Undertaker was told, after we got to about 10 years into the streak, that, he can choose choose whoever he wants to break the streak. He chose Brock Lesnar years before it actually happened, like 15 years before it actually happened. He said, I want Brock Lesnar to do it. He always wanted Brock Lesnar to do it. Vince would not change what The Undertaker wants. Spider-Boss says, Triple H and Taker pointing to the WrestleMania sign in 2011 was awesome. None of them needed to say a word. Indeed. Andrew Quinn says, will we get a JTG wrestling return in WWE soon? No, we will not. Spider-Boss says, I loved the Evil documentary episode that featured Sasha. Well, she does know something about being a heel, and a damn good heel at that. Brandon says, shall we go to the UK pay-per-view, Tom? Depends where it is. I'm definitely leaning that way myself, but that means not covering it here, so we'll see how that goes. I like covering my pay-per-views. Zach, welcome to the show, says, my man is 52 and is now just retired. That alone is legendary. It is. Triple H has given a lot to the WWE, to wrestling, to the wrestling industry as a whole. Let's not forget Terra Rising, who just created WCW out of nothing. As we all know, you have to consider little things like that. Triple H will go down in history as one of the best to ever do it. I believe because he was a heel for basically all of it, he doesn't get the respect he deserves. That's my opinion, but that's what I believe. Andrew Quinn says, who do you think the next AEW star to return to WWE after Cody? There's a few people who I feel if they get the opportunity, they will come over. Honestly, I think it's most likely to be Daniel Bryan. He doesn't have a massive contract with AEW. He's more of a free agent. And once he's wrestled everyone he wants to wrestle, which is quite a long list, I'll admit, I suspect the WWE will be able to entice him back. That's my opinion. Jermaine says, hey Tom, I'm meeting the Hardy Boys, Tony Storm and a few other wrestlers. Do you have any suggestions of questions I should ask them? Well, when it comes to the Hardy Boys, you can ask them basically anything. Basically anything. They are very honest people. By all means, just ask Jeff about his time in the WWE. He would jump into that with no worries whatsoever. When it comes to Tony Storm, look ahead. Look ahead. Look at what she's doing in the future and focus on that, and you'll get some very, very good answers. Austin says, Wendy Chu and Dakota versus Toxic Attraction, maybe? Maybe, I mean, there were the runners-up, it makes sense. Hector says, Brian Alvarez stated on Observer Radio that when Tony Khan made his huge announcement, he didn't have the Ring of Honor deal secured yet. I wonder who first reported that, cough cough, Tom Colohue. Yep, that is something First reported right here on this Twitch and YouTube channel, the Tom Colohue channels as I refer to them. But once again, now that Brian Alvarez has said it, it'll be reported far and wide by all the different wrestling news sections. And if you, as wrestling fans and Tom Colohue viewers, jump in and say Tom Colohue had it first, you'll get a wall of crap from people who clearly aren't paying attention. Good old wrestling media. Simon says, White Bay BC versus Machine Guns rematch next week at Impact. Then White versus Sabin at Impact Metaverse. Impact is putting on good stuff. I just unfortunately don't have time to watch it. Justin Stevens says, % chance Stone Cold to the match between now and Mania 39. 0. Moxley says, Veer is coming on April 4th. He'll be coming all over WWE Superstars. But when he comes, the tension is going to be so built up and backed up that when he comes, the explosion is going to be felt by everyone. And I'm excited for that. Zach says, at the end of the day, Triple H has done it all for the company. He has nothing else to accomplish, and you are absolutely right. 10foot says, Tom, I see two men in current WWE that can be two-time Hall of Famers in Seth and Roman. Do you see any ladies that can be? Yes. Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Sasha Banks. I feel they will all go in individually, maybe not as first ballot, but it will all go in individually, and the four horsemen will go in as a unit. Jay says, since Triple H is retired, will he get inducted into the Hall of Fame solo? Yes, he will. Not this year, but he will be inducted solo over the next couple of years, and imagine next year, unless someone else huge pops up, as it were. If you're currently watching on YouTube, please do remember you can give that little thumbs up. It makes a massive difference to the growth of the show, and I very much appreciate it. And subscribe if you haven't already. Ed says, I mean, by then you may have a team to cover a pay-per-view if you go to a live show. Very true. Very true. Team Colohue very much in the offing as we go. Sean says, JTG inducts Chad is my guess. I agree. I think that's the most likely. Brandon says, I much preferred Becky's The Man gimmick to the whole Big Time Bex thing since she returned. I also very much like the Man gimmick. Big Time Bex is hit and miss for me, but Becky Lynch is someone I've always been a fan of. Miami Heat says, Omos versus Bobby Lashley. Why, Tom? To get both of them on the card, and for the fact that Bobby Lashley is only quite recently back from quite a serious injury, I feel he might get a little bit beat up on this one. Wiggly, at no point did anyone say that all Attitude Era wrestlers have retired. But it is a long time ago, so you'd expect most of them to be gone. Sean says, will MJF ever work for WWE? Maybe, I don't know. BFG says, JTG not available on the night of the Hall of Fame, doing independent shows unless he cancels in light of the announcement. I think that's possible, and I don't think he'd hide why he cancelled. I don't think anyone would even question him for cancelling that either, including the promoters, because honestly, who wants to be the guy who says to JTG, no, you can't go and induct Chad Gaspard into the Hall of Fame? Whoever it may be, don't be that guy. Sean says, did Taker want to lose to Roman at Mania? Yes, he did. Spider Boss says, are the Four Horsemen the biggest creation of Triple H? Once again, the Four Horsemen were not created by Triple H. Dimitar says, the episodes about Steph, Randy and Roman were great too. Well, that could be interesting. Might have to check that out. Wiggly says, I could seriously see CM Punk returning to WWE. CM Punk was in negotiation with the WWE about to return when he signed to AEW, because it drove up the price of him going to AEW. I did report that first and exclusively right here on these channels, and the videos are still here if anyone wants to check them out. So don't let anyone else tell you different and pretend that they were the first ones to report that. Miami Heat says, what was the reason Booker T lost to Triple H at WrestleMania 19? They will swear blind that it was a booking choice. You can make your own decisions. Wiggly says, Jericho, I am certain, will return for his Hall of Fame induction. Yes, he will, when he's asked to, when he's ready to finish wrestling. He has, or may have been asked to in the meantime, and found it quite insulting because he wants to keep wrestling and he didn't like the tone. Dimitar suggests to Jermaine, whatever you do, don't ask why Tony left. Why not? Why not? Wiggly says MJF may well come over. Once again, officially, maybe, I don't know. Zach says, so AEW and WWE working together. I don't know where you've seen that, Zach. I don't know where you've seen that. I at no point have said anything that suggests anything close to that. Not even close. Wiggly says, I hope Hikaru Shida will come over. She deserves so much more from her career. WWE, as far as I'm aware, not that interested. Sean says, Alexa tweeted a post about Triple H and said Alexa's playground was his idea. She's facing a lot of backlash for this. Many are saying she's ruining his legacy by tweeting that. Yeah, here's the thing. The people saying that to her are disgusting human beings. She's celebrating what Triple H did for her. And what she's getting is crapped on for celebrating a man who meant a lot to her. People need to shut the hell up and let people do what people need to do, you know? She's trying to respect someone, and all she's receiving in response is disrespect. Wiggly says, not everyone who's come over to AEW has died in the world loyal to AEW. Even the likes of Sting might go back, if only for old time's sake. Yeah, Jericho will go back at some point. Jericho will definitely go back at some point. Do you think Asuka will go in the WWE Hall of Fame? No. Ghost says, well, Ryback is being an ass on Twitter again. Only a matter of time until his Control Your Narrative debut at this point. Even they don't really want to touch the guy. Get the Tables, welcome to the show. Says, you may have touched on this. Boys, Austin and Owens main eventing night one. Hello to you, by the way. Hello. How you doing, mate? How you doing? So, as regards Austin versus... Well, not versus. Austin and Owens. There are rumours that that is a planned main event. From what I can tell, there was a fight on. The original plan was Becky versus Bianca to main event night one. Then when Ronda Rousey became available, the WWE wanted to go to Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. Now that the fans aren't really getting behind Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey, the WWE have decided to pivot. Now, what they pivoted to, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't had official confirmation on it. But it's starting to sound like Austin versus Owens, nope, again, Austin and Owens, is going to be a main factor of night one. It would be disrespectful in the extreme, in my opinion, for at least one of these women's championships to not main event. But we are where we are, and it depends what the plan is. Steve Austin may have lobbied for a more preferential spot in order to convince him to be involved after all. Austin says, what can we expect from SmackDown tonight? At least one fantastic Fatal 4-Way match, I'll tell you that. Outside of that, it'll be fairly standard. I expect it to be good, but not great, with some solid wrestling and some sort of by-the-numbers Johnny Knoxville stuff. Wiggly says, I might have missed it, but weren't AEW doing something with Owen Hart? Did that go ahead? Going ahead soon. Sean says, imagine Triple H and Batista in the same Hall of Fame class. I mean, that would be cool, apart from the fact that they can't both be first ballot. Michael, welcome to the show, mate. Says, who do you think should win the women's Money in the Bank? I think Liv would be great. I think it needs to be someone from Raw. I would like it to be Shayna. I would like them to establish the Ronda Rousey-Shayna Baszler tag team, and then I'd like Shayna Baszler to win Money in the Bank. I'd like Ronda Rousey to be absolutely certain that Shayna Baszler is going against Bianca Belair, that she's going for that Raw Championship, and they can both be champions. Then I'd like them to win the tag team championships as a team. The idea being, oh, Shayna can go for Bianca now, and we can both be double champions. And then I'd like Shayna to go for Ronda. It'd be fun. It'd be fun. Wiggly says, not happy with the concept of the Warrior Award, as Warrior, to be fair, wasn't a nice guy. He was not. Like Hogan, also not a nice guy. But Shad getting it was deserved, absolutely. Yes, Warrior Award recipients are inducted into the Hall of Fame. There is a dedicated section for it. Moxie says, no, Tom, Seth can't try and take someone's place anymore because he lost to AJ last week. They said it's his last chance. That's fair. When the WWE says it's your last chance, it absolutely is. Nobody's come out of retirement. Nobody's been unretired. Nobody has lost a pink slip on a pole match and then ended up wrestling matches against Triple H in the near future. It's never happened. Wiggly says CM Punk is just making a transit stop in AEW. He will get bored of AEW sooner rather than later. I doubt that. Spider-Boss says, why Charlotte versus Ronda doesn't get much attention from the fans. It does, not from social media though. Buzzy says, hello everyone, I can't believe Triple H almost died. Yeah. So sad to see his in-ring career end like this. I'm so grateful for the good he's done for wrestling. It is a little disappointing, I'm sure, to him, but I don't want to focus too much on this narrative because he may end up getting like The Undertaker and like, I need another one, I need another one, I need another one. He doesn't need another one. He's given us everything he possibly could. Everything he possibly could. And I'm very grateful for what he has given. I'm not going to ask for more. John says, why did WWE view Rhea lesser than Bianca? Because it was the opposite in NXT. They don't. They don't view lesser than. Don't know what else to tell you then. Bianca was called up sooner, she had more development, and the fans grabbed hold of her a bit stronger. That's it. Wiggly says, sorry if I sound as though I'm putting AEW down. I'm an AEW fan, but I admit that perhaps the honeymoon period is over for them, but they've got a solid fan base. That's your opinion? You are certainly entitled to it. Tommy says, wrestling fans are so toxic now. Yep. Wiggly says, I hate those so-called fans who abuse the wrestlers on Twitter. They're not really fans, to be honest. Lil from column A, Lil from column B. I don't think you can claim to be a fan of an individual if all you do is give them crap. And I don't believe in this concept of, I'm a fan of this person who you're feuding with is kayfabe, so you're hell. You know? I don't believe in fans calling wrestlers trash because you hurt my favourite. They're wrestlers. That's literally what they're there for. They're supposed to be hurting each other, you know? But at the same time, I also think there's a lot of toxicity in wrestling fans in general. And I think that comes from a lot of different areas, a lot of top-down. A lot of wrestling fans seem to think that they're wrestlers and they decide to have feuds with the wrestlers. It doesn't help that a lot of wrestling journalists do that as well. Spider-Boss says, I wonder why Toni Storm left WWE. Ringside News reported WWE's officials criticised her due to the match with Charlotte. I don't trust Ringside News, and I do not believe that report is accurate. Though I will say, she did not have the greatest matches with Charlotte. She did have a couple of botches. And she did, as I reported way back when, take a lot of the blame for the feud not hitting the highlights. I believe, 10-foot, you're asking if Alexa is a Hall of Famer. I don't know. There's a long time between now and then. Bailey says, Alexa seems to catch more crap from the Internet Wrestling Fringe than any other performer. Yeah, she does. I won't say than any other, per se. I certainly think there are some that get as much crap. But, yeah, Alexa gets a whole lot of shit. And I haven't seen any reason why she would deserve it. None. None at all. Simon says, do you see Impact now as a new ECW Ring of Honor as a modern day number 3? No, New Japan. New Japan is the number 3. The user says, hi mate. Hello, the user. How you doing? Sean says, Shinsuke versus Jay should be good. The fact that it's Jay Uso, you know, main event Us, it means that this should be a fun match. I just wonder how long it will last. Spider-Boss says, SmackDown lately is watch Roman and Brock and Sasha and Sammy. Yeah. Sounds pretty good to me. The user says, do you think Cody will use his stuff he was using in AEW theme, etc.? That's the plan, that's the intention, that's what they're trying to make happen. Ryan Betson, welcome to the show. Says, with Triple H now retired, should he now go and play Kratos in the Amazon God of War series? He would be perfect for that. Absolutely. I don't think he will. I think he'll slow down a little bit and calm down and just quieten down his life a little bit. But it would be cool. Yes, Sean, there is a video of Shayna and Ronda training together for WrestleMania. WWE did put it out as part of a determined plan to keep Ronda happy by pushing Shayna a little bit more. JJ says, since Hall of Fame is next Friday, I'm guessing they're filming SmackDown tonight for next week. No, they're just doing it sequentially, aren't they? Pretty sure they're just doing it one after the other. I don't know. Spider-Boss says, supposedly Ronda gets what she wants, but WWE doesn't trust in Shayna. I don't know that to be certain. I've heard rumours of that, but they still use Shayna. They've just not used her since that loss to Becky Lynch all that much. They still have trust in her. They just haven't given her a championship yet. Yes, she went downhill from that very early section. That doesn't mean they don't trust her. They wouldn't have someone on the books that they don't trust. Austin likes the idea of Shayna with the booking of the Money in the Bank. Wiggly says, on a side note, I would encourage those of you who can to learn first aid. Honestly, you never know when it might come in useful and who it can save. Fair, I haven't renewed my first aid for a while. I might look into that, but definitely a thing worth pointing out, Wiggly. Thank you. Again, Wiggly, AEW does have a solid fan base. At no point did I even dispute that. At no point did I even question what you said there. I mean, he says, what was the original plan for Triple H at WrestleMania 23? I don't know which one WrestleMania 23 was. I'm not sure. Hector says, I know this is a bit in the future, but say Triple H is inducted, I could see people like Bryan Danielson, Adam Cole, etc. wanting to be in attendance. If that's the case, do those wrestlers need to have permission to attend a WWE event, or is Tony Khan more loose on things like that? To be clear, the WWE wrestlers do not need permission to go and watch AEW shows. They don't. I'm saying that first and foremost. Nobody needs permission to go to wrestling shows. That's never been a thing. Never. I know there's been rumours and journalists have sort of stirred that up. It's never been a thing. Austin says, I saw AEW teasing a mystery woman for AEW Rampage tonight. Well, hopefully Tony Khan knows who that is. Sean says, most think Gigi Dolan is injured because she left the ring on NXT when the brawl took place. Could be why Io and Kaylee Ray used their dusty win on Mandy. Certainly possible. I don't know anything about that, but we'll see how it goes. Tommy says, I think WWE has been good the last couple of weeks. I would say so. Raw particularly has been very good the last few weeks. Spider-Boss says, did Toni Storm get all of the blame because her match with Charlotte in 2021? Not all of the blame. Most of the blame. I did report that way back when as well. Super, you're alright, mate. Says, WrestleMania 23 was the year before HBK versus Ric Flair. That tells me nothing. Tells me absolutely nothing, unfortunately. I still don't know which one it was. Simon says, do you love the new Blackpool Fight Club tag team with Mox and Danielson? I think it's a very exciting tag team. I think they've got a very exciting manager, and I look forward to seeing what they do with it. Super says, do you think we will ever see Tessa Blanchard on TV, either WWE or AEW? Yes. Yeah. And Moxie says SmackDown was great last week. So, it's been an hour. We have run out of questions. If you are watching on YouTube, please remember to hit that thumbs up. That like button makes a massive difference. And subscribe if you haven't already. At the beginning of the show, we were sitting on 1,053 subscribers, and I'm on a mission to keep that number going up. We have lost a little bit of momentum, but that's to be expected. We were pushing pretty hard to get to that monetization. We've reached it. So I expected the numbers to go down a little bit. But after all, it is WrestleMania around the corner. And please do remember, we will be having our Sunday show, our Monday show, and then after that, it will be the Friday spoiler warning, the SmackDown watch along, the Hall of Fame watch along, WrestleMania Night 1, NXT Stand and Deliver, WrestleMania Night 2, Monday spoiler warning, WWE Raw, NXT, 9 shows in a row. 9 shows in a row. Over the course of 5 days, 9 shows. So you all have got that to look forward to. Please remember that starts next week on Friday. I've booked an entire week off so that I can try and sleep in the meantime. But for now, I hope to see you all in about an hour for WWE SmackDown. Until then, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.